Good morning on this Thursday, February 6th. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett, streaming live on News 6 Plus, clickorlando.com, and the News 6 YouTube channel. I'm Bridgett Ellison. It's good to be with you, and we're waking up again with more fog, but it's not as thick as it has been most of this week. So we'll get a check-in with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos in just a second and take a look at that traffic as well with Trooper Steve. And we are taking a look at having a balanced life this morning. We always like to get results for your health. And so today we have a licensed counselor on tap to talk to us about sort of making sure we're keeping on track at this beginning of the year and how to make sure we have balance and some strategies to go about finding that if it's something that you're juggling and trying to find. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, a check of that forecast with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. And Candace, I'm glad that it's not as much of an alert this morning with this, but still something to watch out for.
Right. We are still seeing a little bit of that patchy fog across the area, but we are going to continue to see a lot more sunshine. It's not a lot of fog, kind of widespread fog, just a little bit kind of patchy in some of our locations. Really focused on along areas like side roads, not main interstates and things like that. As again, it's very patchy. We still have enough of a breeze in place this morning that it's actually starting to kind of filter out some of that fog. So certainly some good news for those heading out the door in the next couple of minutes. But let's take it to the maps and show you what's going on across Central Florida. Again, some areas of patchy fog as we take a live look outside there. City Beautiful, living up to its name, just a beautiful start to the day, where for the past few mornings, we've really been kind of stuck in a lot of that kind of haze in the sky, some of it suspended still just above the roadways across parts of Central Florida. But when it comes to the actual roadways, the weather is looking really nice. So if we can take Lynx 1 here and show you that we are going to continue to see temperatures this afternoon back into those mid 80s, 84. That is our forecast high for this time of the year, as we are going to continue to feel more like the beginning of May than, beginning of February, actually. Visibility at this point in time, you can see as we take a look at, again, if we can pop open Lynx 1, visibility right now is still less than about 7 miles in Palm Coast. That's really the only area that is dealing with some of that patchy fog. But although most of our reporting stations are looking pretty good, there is going to be that potential of, again, just a little bit of patchy fog between now and, let's say, about 9 o'clock or so. Temperatures out the door right now, we're in those mid 50s, 56 in Ocala, 64 in Titusville. As we head into the afternoon, again, up to 84 degrees. We are going to continue to see a lot more sunshine. And basically the reason for it is that we are watching our jet streams, the two that tend to run a lot of our systems from west to east. They've retreated far up to the north. So we don't really even have much of a weather story to talk about over the next couple of days, as it's just going to be a big ridge of high pressure that's going to stay in control. Now, with that being said, when you have a big ridge in place, it keeps conditions pretty stagnant. And that's why we've been dealing with some of that patchy fog. So visibility looks like it will improve within the next hour or so for some locations that are experiencing the fog. But by early tomorrow morning, officially Friday around 3 a.m., we will start to see some of that fog developing along our coastline and starting to filter inland throughout the day. So we could see a little more fog than what we dealt with this morning. But again, we're going to continue to watch that. No matter what, though, foggy or no fog in the mornings, the beach forecast is going to be looking fantastic as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures are going to be in the low 80s. The UV index still in the moderate range. We do have a moderate risk of rip currents, but God bless you if you're going to be out on the water right now. The water temperature there barely at 60 degrees. So looking at our lows tonight, again, some of that fog will develop. It will be another mild start, upper 50s to low 60s. But this is what I was talking about. We have the polar jet stream. That's what sends in the cold blast from the north. That's all the way up, barely over the U.S. at this point in time. And then we have the subtropical jet. That tends to kind of sit a little further south. And it's what brings us more of those milder cold fronts, not the ones that are bringing temperatures, near freezing, but it tends to move air around a little bit. Well, both of those features have shifted far up to the north, keeping us under a pretty warm bubble. So our high today is 84. We're going to stay in the mid 80s, which, interesting enough, that is our average high by May 6th. We're February 6th. So we skipped 2 months here in Central Florida. So again, some dense patchy fog can't be ruled out early Friday, and then it looks like we're going to see copy and paste weather forecast as we're going to continue to see just nice spring-like weather in place, Bridgett.
I love it. I love it. It's very nice. And I really wanted to get out yesterday and I kind of ran out of daylight, but gonna try for that again today, Candace, because these are some
Yeah,
nice days for sure.
yeah, and the weather will be comfortable, so humidity won't be too bad.
Yes, that's a plus too. Just the pollen though. That's the thing that's really getting me right now. But I have
Yeah,
my Claritin, so
springtime warm comes springtime allergies.
we're almost there. All right. Well, thanks, Candace. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye. All right, we do want to check in with Trooper Steve, and we got a little bit to cover with him because we had some pictures from the day before, Steve, I think, that we now have, and we were talking about
Yeah.
what you did. That
First,
was
I want to do
really
traffic,
one of your favorite
though.
things. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take it
let's
away.
do traffic first, though, because things are kind of messy out here
Alrighty.
this morning. Eastbound I-4 right now at US 27. Super backed up this morning. Oddly, not what we're used to seeing in the morning out here. There's no crash out there, so I'm not sure if Disney's giving away free tickets or what today, but there are a lot of... Let me be clear, Disney's not giving away free tickets today.
That was a
but
joke.
The traffic is a mess right now. 40 minutes Champions Gate to downtown. At this hour, we're normally looking at about a 29-minute drive. But the story right now here is what we're talking about. East Osceola County, Nova Road at Deer Park Road is currently shut down for a multi-vehicle fatal crash investigation. There's 5 cars involved. There is a deceased individual on scene. This is the second fatal crash we've had at this intersection within 7 days. So people need to pay attention. This is very rural East Osceola County. I used to travel through here as a kid to get out to Cocoa from Kissimmee. Please be careful. This happened right around 5:30 this morning. This will be closed for at least the next 2 hours with a body on scene. Crashes like that, we got to get the coroner and all that stuff out there. So this is going to be closed. If this is a route for you, you need to avoid it. The rest of us are just seeing the routine stuff on 192 and things like that. I just wanted to get that as the priority, Bridgett, this morning, just to get it out there because that area is going to be shut down for quite some time.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it's just people need to pay attention. There's driver error. We did have some radiation fog, not frogs, that Candace really did an amazing job at explaining that, not only to the viewers, but to me too, because, hey, it's different than patchy fog. This stuff just develops especially a little thicker out in our rural areas. But to your point, we did have some really, really good news occur this week in partnership that you were going to talk about with the picture that I submitted to you guys. So you guys already know I talk about the Carrie Ann DeMont Foundation all the time. And Carrie Ann lost her life to a repeat DUI offender 9 years ago. And her parents, the DeMont family, has been on an expedition, a mission to changing lives and really encouraging people to make the right decision. We created, I say we, because if I didn't have this platform here at News 6, I don't think I'd be able to get the stuff that I want done. So I was able to team them up, the Carrie Ann DeMont Foundation, with the Seminole County tax collector, J.R. Kroll. And we had a meeting that's going to start to take effect almost immediately, where the partnership there, where they get to get their information out and get it in front of drivers every single day under every single transaction. So when you come into the Seminole County Tax Collector's Office and maybe you need a renewal, or maybe you're getting some paperwork done, or they're sending a reminder, you're going to get a flyer and you're going to get some information about how you can make proper choices and help advocate for things like that. So that's going to be starting real soon. That is what we have deemed that new vehicle that they have, Starburst One. And it is going to basically be making its way around town. You see there the Thompson family off to the right. They lost their daughter as well. And then Bill in the middle there. They have teamed up together to really get that mission. Standing next to me, tax collector J.R. Kroll. And this was just an amazing conversation in order to truly get results. I like to say, I posted it the other day, getting results for me is more than just 2 hours of traffic. It involves getting out of this building and getting in the community and changing people's lives. And that's what we got to do this week. And I think that's what we're going to continue to see. It's pretty exciting stuff.
And to be clear, if people aren't familiar, this is about DUI awareness and prevention, right? Because
This is, yeah.
they're both using the memory of their children they lost due to some other people's bad choices to just try to remind people to keep it in mind.
Right, 100%. It's about DUI prevention and decision making. So whether it's distracted driving, whether it's impaired driving, the fact that this is occurring every single day to everybody in our community, yet no one considers to take it serious. This is their mission, to put it right in front of your face, to trigger your emotions, to understand that if it could happen to the DeMont family, it can happen to anybody. For those that don't know who Bill DeMont is, he is a retired world champion wrestler for WWE, and he retired. And then this happened to him and his daughter. So something to keep in mind, that no matter where we are in society or what we do for a living, traffic affects all of us. So that's their mission, to get out there. If you've never had the opportunity to watch or talk to the DeMont family, I tell you, it'll change the way that you see things, because for being such a big man, he has the way to really talk to your heart. So I'm really excited about this. And then today, real quick, 10 a.m., I'll have David Nazario, meteorologist, in the truck with me. Kind of introductory ride along, so you get to know him a little bit.
Yeah, he's so fun. Looking forward to that.
Awesome. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, thanks, Steve. Some news to get to this morning, and we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about having a balanced life. And it was actually Get a Balanced Life month just finished up, but of course it's something we always strive to do, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we do have an update on the school cameras, the speed zone cameras that went up in Eustis. So they're providing some new stats on what's happening with that there. And so new this morning, this apparently is working. The leaders in Eustis say they've given out 3,400 tickets already since those cameras went online last year to catch speed violations. And so today they're looking at taking another step to streamline how those tickets are handled. News 6's Angie Casada explains how they are looking now to bring in some outside help, because the response has been big to this.
City leaders say the cameras are doing their job, catching drivers who break the rules and speed through school zones. Some frontline volunteers say they see the recklessness on a daily basis.
Well, I think it's marvelous that we've gotten these cameras, and maybe people will slow down. I mean, I know I'm on a budget. I couldn't have major tickets all the time going through, a speeding zone.
So far, only about 24 people have appealed their fines, but the city says it needs outside help to streamline the process. So the city council is set to vote tonight to bring in a law firm to handle the cases.
I think the program speaks for itself. It's working. At the end of the day, it's saving lives. It's protecting our most vulnerable, our children going to school, and our staff, our crossing guards that are out here working. And people just need to slow down and focus and understand that. Take your time. There's no need to get there in a rush, especially during school times.
Especially like this week, my car's messed up, so I'm walking my kid the mile to school. I see a lot of people that are like, you didn't need to go that fast. Like, there's no reason.
With 9 tickets already voided due to delays in hearings, Eustis is set to hold its first official appeal hearing next week, with 11 people scheduled to challenge their fines.
All right, we'll keep you updated on what happens in Eustis. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with a live interview with Dr. Baucom, owner of Enriched Life Counseling and Consulting. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This morning we're talking about getting a balanced life, and we have with us Dr. Treshonda Baucom once again from Enriched Life Counseling and Consulting. It's good to see you.
Good to see you this morning.
You too. And so, we were talking before the show about getting a balanced life, and that's something I think people it's a constant practice. But at the beginning of the year, so many of us are looking at resolutions and different goals and trying to reorganize. So what does that look like when you're trying to get on track and get balance? What are things that get out of balance a lot of times?
Yeah, so one thing that may be out of balance, most of us set some New Year's goals and some New Year's resolutions, and we are a month in. And so some of us are falling off track. Some of us haven't revisited those goals. So right now would be a time to assess without judgment, a little self-compassion to look at where we are when it comes to some of those goals that we set that would bring balance or motivation or different achievements to our life.
Mm-hmm. And so when we look at from maybe a working parent standpoint, just for example, because that's me. But what would be some of the things we can do to get back on track? Because sometimes it's work, or sometimes things at home that are taking over and making you struggle on the other end. So what would be some ways to sort of find a solution so you can get off that hamster wheel of feeling like everything's out of whack?
Yeah. Yeah, when things get out of whack, we have a tendency to judge ourselves and then they completely go off track. So you just want to revisit and revise. Look at what were some of the things that were successful that we were implementing that made us successful on those things. And then what are some of those hindrances or those roadblocks? What got in the way? And when we look and revisit those, we're able to then create a plan as to how we would move forward, and to give ourselves grace. We can also look at reigniting our motivation. So, assessing our why did we even create those goals? Are they still meaningful? Are they still important for us at this time? And so, do we need to change them as well? So, I think sometimes with New Year's resolutions or some of these goals that we have for ourselves, without revisiting and revising them, sometimes they no longer serve a purpose or have meaning. And so, it makes it harder to continue working on those when they no longer are having meaning to your life.
And so, what would be some examples of how you might help someone sort of tackle some of these types of balance struggles, if it's, you know, a, maybe a checkpoint of some things to adjust?
Yeah. So one thing I always like to do is create an accountability plan. And this could look different for everyone. One thing would be actually having an accountability partner, someone that you share those small benchmarks, those goals with, that they can then hold you accountable. I don't know about you, but when I have someone checking in with me, I'm more likely and more willing to do things. There's also some apps that you can use to track your habits and goals and look at your progress towards that. Um, and also celebrating your small wins. I think sometimes we look at the overall big picture and where we want to be at the end of it, and not necessarily celebrate our small wins on those small successes that we have accomplished that are working towards that end goal.
And how do you know when there's maybe small incremental changes or big changes that need to happen when someone might need an overhaul to get balance? What do you look at in terms of making the healthy choices for balance?
Yeah, so I would look at what are the goal, and then I would assess where we currently are. So sometimes, like you said, how do you know if it's a big one or too small of a benchmark to make? Well, it's really looking at what are we currently doing and how does that measure up to where we want to be at the end. So for example, most people have like a weight loss New Year's resolution. It's like, oh, I want to lose and go down 5 pant sizes by next month. Realistically speaking, like, have we been successful with doing that in the past? Like, what is our real normal frequency that wouldn't beat us up so much that then we feel like we're not even making any progress? So then that's not a goal that has no thing. Would be like, I want to work out 4 times a week and I'm currently only working out 2 times. So that sounds a little bit more aligned with what you were already doing and then increasing it a little. And then ultimately we can keep changing that once we show more consistency on those smaller steps.
We had a study recently. I think you probably heard about it, where I think the Surgeon General, or it was one of these studies that showed that most parents are really stressed out in trying to find that balance. And so with the way things are just currently set up for lots of people, this is a common issue, to the point that it can affect even your health and well-being. So it is a serious issue that seems to be widespread. So what are some of those common denominators that you always tell people to go back and sort of recalibrate?
Yeah. So looking at our overall wellness, we have health, we have physical, we have social, we have emotional. And sometimes we put all of our eggs just, let's say, on the social aspect. And and forget about the rest of the domains that overall wellness would contribute to our life. So sometimes it's looking at where on that chart do I not give most of my time? Which
Mm-hmm.
one is not receiving that balance?
Mm-hmm.
Because all of those areas are important to integrate into our lives. And so, again, those domains, health, physical, social, emotional, we want to look at all of those domains and see where we fall within that one. And are we ignoring one of those domains? And that's what's affecting us the most.
Mm-hmm. And to me, when you describe that as more of a visual, so I mean, are there, exercises you can do or workbooks or different things you can do to sort of organize an approach with those different type things and see where some of the imbalances lie?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite is called A Healthy Mind Platter by Dr. Dan Siegel. And he kind of breaks each of those domains down and gives particulars for each one as well and how much time should be dedicated. So that is a great resource that I could share with you too. That would be helpful to look at what falls under like a social or connecting time and what does that look like, and so that you could see actual specific tasks or things that you could do in those sections.
Mm-hmm. And so when it comes down to the tactical response, is it that, maybe you have to say no more often to some maybe of the social things in order to make sure you're taking care of your rest and your down times, whether it's for you or your family members, or is it that you need to maybe set better boundaries about how many work hours or how much overtime you're doing, or making sure you're getting that physical activity in so that you get that part of it, or is it just a variety of things, and maybe for some people some of those things might not be as important at different times, or do you say everyone needs to make time for each one to a certain extent?
Yeah, everyone needs to make time for each one to a certain extent. But we all have those areas that kind of have more implications, our overall wellness that impact us the most. But all of those areas are important for us to integrate. So we would look at that and see which area, when I let go of it, does it get me to a point or to a life that I don't enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's exercise. Like if I'm not exercising,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that has the most impact. For some, it's sleep, right? Sleep is that one factor that most people may ignore or get. It's the first thing to go
Mm-hmm.
when we're stressed. It's like a little sleep, and then that might create some more wellness things. For some,
Mm-hmm.
it's that social and connecting time. And
Mm-hmm.
so we really want to look at each of those areas and see how much are we giving. I like to think of we only have 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're giving 80% to social, and the rest are just getting those small little increments. We want to balance
Mm-hmm.
it out a little bit so that they all are kind of even and getting our attention and
Mm-hmm.
implementation into our life.
And then you throw like the whole family platter into the mix. So everyone, every child, every adult has a platter. And so then you're trying to create a plan, I guess, to help everyone find balance for what they need.
Yeah. 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 And it is hard, having a family with kids and activities and spouses, like trying to manage everyone's calendar and then make sure that your own calendar and your own needs don't go to the
Mm-hmm.
wayside. It is really challenging, but
Mm-hmm.
that's why that revisit and reassess and
Mm-hmm.
check in monthly is so important because sometimes we don't check in enough. And so it gets a little bit worse and it's harder to climb out once we've let it go on for so long because then that just becomes our normal.
Mm-hmm. So you can't be afraid to make those adjustments. So, Dr. Bacham, where can we go for some more information?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, www.enrichlifecounseling.com. And I'll also be posting on there the healthy mind platter that I mentioned during this interview as well.
Very great. All right. Well, good to see you as always. Thank you again for the insight.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, Central Florida, rich in Black history. And today, News 6 anchor and insider guide Crystal Moyer is taking a closer look at some museums celebrating people who broken barriers and served the community in Central Florida.
It's Black History Month, and there are several museums throughout Central Florida highlighting African American achievements. I'm News 6 anchor and insider guide Crystal Moyer, and we're going to check out some of them together, starting with the Mary S. Harrell Black Heritage Museum in New Smyrna Beach. Come on, let's take a look. This historic church was built in 1899, serving Black Catholics in the area. After segregation, the church converted into a neighborhood clinic and now serves as a nonprofit Black Heritage Museum with photos and memorabilia from Chisholm High School, Volusia County's first school for Black students. They also have some replicas of items from Black inventors. You'd be surprised what you find here. Things like spark plugs, old school pencil sharpeners, even an ice cream scooper. In Marion County, the Black History Museum sits inside Howard Academy, the first school for Black students in Ocala, dating back to 1866. You can scan through old report cards, class photos, and trophies.
I oftentimes think of the struggle of dealing with the racism, the segregation, the Jim Crow laws, all those types of things, the desire coming out of slavery to even want to have an education.
The museum also features photos and relics from Paradise Park, the tourist destination for African Americans at Silver Springs. In Brevard County, the Harry T. and Harriet V. Moore Memorial Park and Cultural Center highlights the legacy of the Moores, educators in the early 1900s who would go on to organize the first Brevard County branch of the NAACP, as well as the Florida Progressive Voters League, registering more than 100,000 Black voters in the state. In Orange County, the Wells-built museum sits in what was once a hotel built in the 1920s to accommodate Black entertainers and guests who performed at the nearby casino during segregation. Even iconic singer and pianist Ray Charles was a patron, his name in the hotel's ledger. The rooms looked like this. Back in New Smyrna Beach, I met resident Jim Spencer, who explains why museums keeping Black history alive are so important.
I think you have to know what the truth really was and where things were, and get it from actually the photographs that are in places like the Black Heritage Museum, where you can see where things were inequitable, and hopefully we're moving towards equitability.
There's so much more for you and your family to explore. Did I mention some of those museums I talked about are free? You can check out a full list of Black History museums in Central Florida on clickorlando.com/insider. Crystal Moyer, getting results, News 6.
Hey, really nice weather. Get out and check out those places Crystal talked about today. So hope you have a nice one. We'll be back at noon.